Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. This is a podcast where I enjoy sharing my insights. And today I'm calling this Who Judges the Judge? And this way of thinking might help you deal with critics or people who have judged you, or even make you question your own judgment. Who guards the guards? Who polices the police? It's this strange phenomenon of who's at the top. So stick around and we'll unpack this little vicious circle that we find ourselves in. Who judges the judge? Nobody ever considers who judges the judge and who critiques the critic. I often say we don't know enough to be judgmental, that our awareness is too limited to say that this is problematic, this needs fixing, or conversely, that this is good and that this is the way to be. Human perspective is so very limited because we are seeing a segment of an entire mosaic or painting. It would be like taking a microscope to a Monet painting and seeing a glob of paint and saying, oh, that's awful. Just, what is that? That's terrible. But that we did not back up and see the entire painting. We can't see the entire painting. We can't see the entire mosaic. We might see even a piece that's fallen off or doesn't fit together quite right. That's what it means to be a human. It's like being a cell in the body and assuming that's all you are. But the cell contains the entire DNA of the body. The cell behaves. It just doesn't know that it is part of a perfect organism. So, when someone critiques you or judges you, or if you do this yourself, you are assuming the highest position, not realizing that you are every bit as susceptible as the person you are judging. You are every bit as vulnerable as the person you're critiquing. I find that people who critique consider their word final. As if they are the highest authority in the land. But then there are usually these kinds of people who, if they become food critics, they've never owned a restaurant. Or if they become a music critic, they've never played a musical instrument of great skill. Or if they critique your content, they've never been a content creator. Usually people who are in the field doing something, they give you something called feedback, and that's completely different. They give you advice. That's something completely different. So, the judge does not have authority. We're trying to figure out who has the authority. Who guards the guards? Who polices the police? Who presidents the president? Who governs the world? Who's the boss of the universe? It's the old philosophical conundrum of who's the boss. And when we do this, we get into my God is better than your God kind of thing. Because that's what your mind would want to say. Well, God's the boss. Well, then who bosses God? And these weird, vicious circles make you realize that it is a cat and mouse game with no winner and no loser. Because the creator and the critic are the same. Both the creator and the critic are in this vulnerable position of not knowing who governs the governor. Right? So if you've been judged or critiqued, just remember that the critique is just as naked, vulnerable, ignorant, and innocent as the creator. And you don't have to retaliate. If someone judges you, you do not have to retaliate. You do not have to critique the critic, because it just becomes this vicious circle that never ends. The only way to end it is to absorb it, to let your ears hear it and your eyes see it with a great ease. Because the critic doesn't have the authority. The judge does not have the authority. I know it looks like the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, but when they go home, they take off their robes, and they've got their own struggles. We must begin to see each other in what I call the tender form. You know, sometimes spiritual teachers wear very little. Ramana Maharshi wore a diaper. There's something about the tenderness of that. It looked like a diaper. I'm not saying a diaper. He wore very little clothing. But he had this innocence about him, which is what you want to expose to the world. How susceptible you are. How vulnerable you are. How tender you are. So a real artist, someone trying to create content or trying to expose truth, is trying to demonstrate tenderness and love, expressiveness. And so we absorb the critic, enfold the critic into our love, and hug them metaphorically, metaphysically. That is not to say you look at the critic in condescending ways. They are looking at you in condescending ways. And if you're already a child, if you're already innocent, if you're already loving, you can absorb the so-called impact. In many ways, the critic loves you. The enemy loves you. Ignorance loves you. Because you have that ignorance in you. Your viewpoint is far too limited to say that your situation is wrong, messed up, turbulent. So I'm trying to see the world with wonderment. That is very different than seeing the world judgy. See your critic with wonderment. Don't see your critic the same way your critic sees you. My whole channel is about right seeing. Seeing with a non-judgmental, non-reactionary, non-critical, loving and accepting, peaceful way. And a lot of that, you have to sense your own presence. That somehow the judge and the critic are part of your own presence, your own creation, your own oneness, your own unity, and ultimately love, universal love. It used to bother me to be criticized, and now I understand it's a little I love you. It's not sarcastic. It's neutral. So this is a reminder that the critic is wearing a diaper. The critic is afraid to. The critic is unsure to. The critic is vulnerable to. The critic is susceptible to. Remind yourself of that. No one judges the judge. Because there is no ultimate. The ultimate is love. And we'll get there. Because we are that. My name is Ryan Hebert. I hope you enjoyed these insights this morning. Please check out my blog, mymorningmotivator.com.